a whore, and the merchants of the earth. And they're acting complicit with each other to establish a system of global governance that is enslaving us all. And that is the agenda. That is the problem. Government is not reason, it is not eloquent, it is force. What is government? Government is a necessary evil at its best, or at its worst, it's a, well, it was there a minute ago, I'll find it. At best, it's a necessarily evil. At the worst, it's an intolerable evil. Point, government is evil. The Founding Fathers knew government was evil. They knew it. They operated from that premise. Is it a bad or wrong thing to say that government is evil? Am I anti-government to say that government is evil? Why is government evil? Because it's established because of our need to control others. The government of the world are all about control, and they use force to control conduct. And when you get people in there attempting to control the conduct of others, it invariably becomes evil. And when money is the impetus to cause that to happen, then the government becomes money-driven, and it's become driven by the love of money, and what we're experiencing today is not government anymore. It is not government anymore. What we're dealing with is a racket. What we're dealing with today is a cartel. It is a mafia. It is an extortion racket. And it is in bed with the Federal Reserve System, and its objective and its agenda is to enslave, not to set free, not to liberate, not to make our lives better, but to see how much it can control before we finally say enough. And that's really what we're dealing with. Government is a dangerous master or a dangerous servant or a fearful master. Problem. Here's the problem. Either the government has abandoned the rule of law and there is no rule of law, or there is another law at work and the government is right about everything it's doing. Now, which one is it? Really, isn't that a fair question? Can the government do anything it wants, and is it operating under some semblance of lawful authority, or has it completely abandoned the rule of law and is making it up as it goes? I'm not sure. We'll discuss that, but the end result is the same. We feel the pain. Problem, centralization of power. Again, Jefferson quote, when all power becomes centralized, it will become venal and oppressive as the one that we left. Solution, the centralization of power. Problem, power corrupts. Problem, greed, love of money. Problem, centralization of power, I've redundant now. Problem, fear. The people fear the government. These are the problems. We're afraid. The people are afraid. What are we afraid of? Death. What are we afraid of? Jail. I mean, let's just get to the bottom line. My God, if we stand up to this government, I might go to jail. If I stand up to this government, I might die. If I stand up to this government, somebody might think I'm a lunatic. Somebody might say that I'm crazy. Somebody might say that I'm insane. Somebody might. You know what? That somebody might lives in the future. That doesn't live in the now. That's a what-if thing. It doesn't exist in the now. It doesn't exist in the present. We're making a decision based upon something that hasn't happened. And it's paralyzing us because we're living in the future. We're not living in the present. We're basing our present performance on past precedent that isn't really past precedent at all unless we adopt it as precedent, and then it paralyzes us so that we live the same thing in the future that we lived in the past, and we end up in this vicious circle, in this vicious cycle. We can change the future by the way we act today. We can change the future. As a matter of fact, all future is determined by the determinations that we make today. We change the future by changing the decisions that we make today. The future does not exist, remember? Problem, control of value of money is in private hands. The control of money is in private hands. All right. See, can you build a house with a tape measure, the value of which changes every week? Okay, this week a foot's only 8 inches long. Okay, this week a mile is not 5,280 feet. This week a mile is now 5,000 feet. That's what they're doing with this. This week the value of $1 is 93 cents. This week the value of $1 is 8 cents. They change this value, and then we go out and make money, and what is happening to our wealth? They're stealing our wealth because they are regulating the value of this and making a profit on it. And then we loan it out. Go watch the movie in time. I'm just going to plug the movie. I went and saw it. Everybody has a little time clock on their hand. It's out in the theaters. It just came out. When you turn 20, they've discovered how to be immortal. They've discovered the immortal gene, so everybody's immortal. So what they do is they give them a year after they turn 25. And that clock starts running at 25. If that clock runs out, you die. It's a metaphor for what we're dealing with here. Time is money. It's an amazing little movie. So we need, Jefferson said private banks are more dangerous than standing armies. Let's stop and get that. Private banks are more dangerous than standing armies. Why? Because at least when there's a gun coming at you, you know to run. The private banks operate stealthily, and the legislators condone it. And the churches are silent about it. Why are they silent about it? Because they don't know it? I thought the churches were the light of the world and the salt of the earth. Why don't churches understand basic principles like the love of money? It's in the Bible. Why don't churches understand that that Jesus kicked over the tables where the money changers sat? Why are the churches silent on the issue of money? We should go to church and learn all about this issue. If we were learning these principles, we wouldn't get caught in these traps. But over and over again, the bankers know exactly how to manipulate us. Why aren't we being told the truth? I want to know the truth. So I spend my days and nights trying to figure it out. And it's a heady subject. Why is money such a hard subject to understand? Because it's not real. It's not real. It's not real anymore. And if we keep going down this road, it won't even be this anymore. We're going to computer credits. That's where it goes after they crash this. So we need to remove the power base of the Federal Reserve. We need an alternative medium of exchange. E pluribus unum. But this is the real problem, is we are no longer one. These are 1923 coins, 1 ounce coins, and on these coins it says E pluribus unum, the many is one. On the back of this coin it says, oh, in God we trust. It also says liberty. Those are the three. Those three working together are the principles of liberty. They're the principles of what America is founded on. The many is one. John Randolph Tucker, who was a lawyer, his father worked for Washington. His brother was what they call a fire eater. Does anybody know what that term means? You ever wonder how the South rallied enough people to actually have the audacity to not show up to work one day and withdraw from the United States of America and say, we're done with this? The fire eaters were the guys like me that were speaking in the churches and around the taverns, and they were speaking in the legislators, and they were arguing that this government has become so far off the base of what a government is intended to be that we need to withdraw our consent. And at first everybody would look at the fire eaters like, oh, you are nuts. But eventually enough people came out and they rallied around this concept that governments are established to serve the people.